You can feel when someone's words are empty, right? When the sentence itself makes sense, but there's no life behind it. Most of the world is still communicating through story, not truth. And you reach a point in awakening where you stop talking your life and you start transmitting it. The shift is not about learning how to say the right thing. It's about becoming the thing. Once you move past narrative identity, resonance becomes your first language. And most people can't hear it yet. In this video, we're going to talk about what happens after healing and integration when your awareness outgrows the need to explain itself. We'll explore the difference between translation and resonance, why some people suddenly feel harder to talk to, and how to stay grounded in your frequency when you're surrounded by those still living through story. By the end of it, you'll understand that you're not actually becoming harder to understand. You're just ahead of the curve in learning how to communicate in the world's next language, frequency. You don't lose your ability to speak. You just stop using words as proof. You start noticing that your field, your tone, your breath, your calm, carries more truth than your explanations ever could. That's the point where the old ways of relating begin to dissolve. Let's start there. The old paradigm of communication was to have a thought, then have a feeling about it, and then speak from that place. But the new paradigm is a little bit different. It starts with the feeling. We feel, we sense, we gather information through our bodies. From there, we know. I know what I need to do. I know what needs to be said. I know what's not going to be helpful to say right now. In general, just a knowing. And then we move into transmission. And this is where we act from that place of truth, direct transmission of truth. There's no come up to the mind space and find a way to translate it. It just comes through. And that's exactly what happens when the inner narrator becomes quiet. Perception becomes very direct. I was actually just talking to my sister about this the other day when she was telling me, how do you not have an inner critic? And I was like, I don't know. I think I'm just more present. I'm just more inside the experience. You stop thinking about experience. You become the experience. You're in it. That's what embodiment actually means, by the way. Your body and your mind stop having a running commentary to prove that you exist. The old world is held together by a shared consensus on roles, names, professions, relational scripts. So we found identity from those things. The world says this is what is valuable. This job title is valuable, or this role in the family system is valuable. These all make me prove that I exist, that I'm worthy. They all come from story, illusion. So identity was the currency of belonging, and story was the structure of safety. So when you stop performing an identity within that construct, people who are still living in that matrix get uncomfortable because they can't locate you anymore through their mental map. The way that they perceive the world, make sense of the world, and make sense of themselves. No longer it's like error, malfunction in the system. My aunt was asking about my YouTube channel, and she has very little experience with this realm of healing and with deeper integration and shadow work. She's still living from that more performance-based, externalized identity construct. So she asked me, who do you want to be? Like, who's someone really big that you want to be like? With reference to my YouTube channel, like, who am I trying to become? And I looked at her, I found the question so, first of all, insulting and just absurd. It is a perfect example of someone who literally cannot conceive of self without performance. If I'm not becoming someone, some kind of role, some kind of thing that's already created with permission from the world, then it's like, I can't map you, I'm sorry, it's not valid, it's not real, I don't know what you're doing. Guess what I said to her? I said, that's funny. I'm not trying to be anyone else. Actually, I'm just trying to be myself, and I'm sharing a message that is very authentic to me. I actually don't know if there's anyone else talking about things the way that I am. There are people who talk about similar things, but there's no other RoseRune out there. So I'm not really sure I know how to answer that question. It did not destabilize me because I personally don't need that external mirror. I don't need all the subscribers. I don't need her approval or her understanding. I am fully coherent in my signal. I am passionate about what I'm talking about. I feel directed and guided, and this is what I'm doing. In other words, the self, the guiding force within, even my identity construct, has become only relational to source, not to audience. I don't care about what's happening out there. I care about what's happening here. That's where creation comes from. So yes, your coherence will absolutely threaten the narrative structure of those who still need story to feel real. Okay, let's get into resonance versus translation, because this is, I think, is very important. Translation is when you leave your signal to meet someone else in their distortion. This is essentially dimming your light for someone else, bridging the gap for someone else so that they don't have to be uncomfortable. It's saying, the truth is a little too hard for you, a little too much for your system to take. So rather than metabolizing it myself in a way that's going to come through, or sitting in the silence with you and allowing you to figure out how to metabolize it, I am going to pretend like I'm living in your world with you for a second. That is truly self-abandonment and self-betrayal. And you can feel when you are translating, because it makes you small, it makes you contract, it makes your jaw tighten. Your body's gonna, talk to you when you do that. Resonance is staying firmly in your own signal and letting coherence do the talking. So that's just being who you are, standing in your own field, embodied, aligned with truth, and letting things rearrange around you. You really don't have to say anything for other people to feel that, for other people to either be exposed by that, inspired by that, threatened, whatever. And resonance will feel like lightness or neutrality. Generally, you're either gonna feel somewhere in the middle, like neutrality, or even slightly empowered. It might be uncomfortable if your body is used to appeasement initially, but very quickly your physiological response will be softer. Like your body is like, thank you. I can let go. I don't have to hold the energy in anymore, because that's essentially somatically what our bodies do when we are translating and filtering or suppressing. Our bodies have to hold that energy for us. And that's why we get sick. That's why we have tight jaws and tightness in our bodies, in our fascia, is because it doesn't move. It doesn't get expressed. So when we are authentic and we stand strong in our signal, the energy moves freely. It took me decades to learn this and accept it. You cannot drag anyone else into your wavelength through explanation. It has to be felt and it has to be earned. You can find a million different ways to express truth to someone, to share your wisdom, to teach someone something. But until their system is safe enough to experience the truth, to let the truth in, to let it dismantle all their defenses, their identity structure, and until they learn to live that truth, they will never feel you. And it is so much easier when you just let yourself off the hook. You don't need to explain. You don't need to carry it for anyone else. You don't need to tell anyone else anything at all. It's not your job. You're carrying more weight because you're carrying the weight for them as well when you do that. So it is so much more peaceful. And I know that your nervous system, mine certainly for years, felt like it was safety. Like I would find safety by explaining or proving. It was the opposite. Safety is in here. Safety is standing in your own signal and letting that speak for itself and letting people metabolize that and learn how to accept that and adjust themselves around it in their own time, in their own way. The more that you stabilize in presence, you start seeing people's narratives rather than getting caught inside them, because you're not living that way anymore yourself. When you're living from a place of resonance or frequency, people who are living in narrative, the narratives speak very loudly. Like, you can hear someone speak and hear their entire identity construct behind every single sentence. You can tell, I identify with this role. You can see the rigidity. You can see the externalization of identity or whatever it is. And you start to feel compassion for them without engagement. The ego loves translating pain. The self or the soul witnesses it. It says, I see your cage and I'm sorry, but I won't enter it. Neutral empathy replaces emotional fusion, and therefore your presence alone becomes diagnostic. You simply reveal distortion without judging it. And then there's no longer even a desire to convince people. It's exhausting and it's not going to go anywhere. You can start feeling their whole entire identity construct and you can see where the edges are of it. That's where it ends. It's not going to break until something absolutely catalytic or catastrophic happens to them that's out of your control. Resonance doesn't argue, it retunes. So silence, neutrality, a calm tone, these all become your highest communication tools. You realize that the more regulated I am, the more I stand firmly in my signal, the more coherent I am, the more truth lands, even if it doesn't get me the results my ego wants. It's no longer even about your ego anymore. It just is. People who are ready for coherence will feel it in their bodies instantly. And those who aren't will just feel uncomfortable, and they will cope and self-protect in whatever ways that their system is wired to do. Resonance is the new language. Coherence is comprehension. In this field, communication is multi-sensory. It's all about tone, timing, micro-expression, and presence. Your nervous system becomes the transmitter. It's no longer about reaching for the right words. It's about anchoring into presence or into the right state. Because when you're in coherence, truth auto-translates for whoever is capable of receiving it. This is where resonance starts to happen. Is we all talk about when you're authentic, you will find your tribe, the right people will find you, the right things will happen to you. This is how this happens. It's aligning with your blueprint. It's aligning with your design that we've been taught to suppress. So yes, the right ones will hear you. And others will misinterpret or label you, and that's fine. The lesson here is that your energy is your articulation now. The world still running on narrative will not always get you, and that's okay. You're not here to explain yourself to the old paradigm. You're here to embody the new one. Resonance is replacing relatability. You're not misunderstood. You're just broadcasting a frequency that most people haven't yet learned to hear. And you're not meant to be understood by everyone anyway. You're meant to be felt by the right ones. When you speak, do your words come from your mind or your field? How do you know when you've started translating yourself instead of staying in resonance? Drop it in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more content like this. Thank you so much for watching. I will talk to you soon. Bye.